would like to welcome you to the Dynamics 0 to Hero channel. I have captured a recording of upgrading a large-scale enterprise application to the cloud session, which you will be able to watch back now as a webinar. So what can you expect in this session? Let's have a look at the topics at hand. In the first part, I'm going to touch up on the business side of the things. What is JJ Food Service, my company that I work for, about? What is their history? What is the business profile that they have? What kind of applications are they running beside the Dynamics AX application? Then we'll go around the topic of why should we move to the cloud? What are the benefits? What are the disadvantages? Then we will have a look at what is required to run a successful upgrade. Finally, the last section will be about what can we do today in our AX 2009 and 2012 environment ahead of the time to get ready for moving to the cloud. The second part of the session is going to be more about technical topics, like how can we conduct our code upgrade, what are the best practices there, how do I suggest designing the packages and doing the metadata upgrade and so on. Finally, how to prepare and execute the data upgrade to move to the cloud. So let's begin. My name is Vilmos Kintora. I'm head of AX at JJ Food Services operating in the United Kingdom. I'm also running my technical blog at dexrunbase.com, tweeting, and recently I started the YouTube channel Dynamics 0 to Hero. I'd like to ask you all to subscribe there and make sure you follow the latest news of what's happening within the Microsoft Dynamics 365 product range. Now about the company. JJ Food Services has been there for almost 2 decades. They are an omni-channel business-to-business, food and non-food product wholesale delivery business. Recently, due to the coronavirus effects, we started to open up for consumers and doing door-to-door deliveries for them as well. AX has been there for more than 14 years, and we have kept the transactional history being rolled forward across all major versions up to the latest one that we use currently, AX 2012 R3. We have 11 branches and warehouses across the United Kingdom to be able to serve the entire country. That consists of 60,000 customers and more than 100 delivery vehicle fleet that we're operating with.
At JJ Foods, we know that running a successful restaurant is a demanding job and our customers are busy people. Which is why we go to great lengths to make it easy for them to deal with us. We can predict what they need to order and we personalize every customer's experience. Not just with recommendations of products they have ordered before, but with new things selected specially to suit their menus. With 60,000 customers, 10 years of order histories, and some complex mathematics, we can be surprisingly helpful. We know that restaurateurs spend little time behind the desk, so we have responded with a mobile app that has the same predictive features. You can place your order literally in seconds and get straight back to what you are doing. Behind the scenes, we have created a different app to help our drivers. With just a mobile phone, they know what to deliver, when and where. It's all automated. Many of our products are temperature controlled, so we have added Bluetooth sensors to our trucks, and via the driver's phone, we receive real-time data for our whole fleet. The customers don't see this, they just know that their orders arrive fresh every time. Our drivers print invoices after the customer has signed for their goods, so we have eliminated invoicing errors and subsequent credit notes. This saves a lot of time for our customers and for us. We could not do any of this without Microsoft Dynamics AX at the heart of our business and Microsoft Azure in the cloud. Together, we are reshaping the way food distribution works, enabling our customers to have more time to delight their customers.
Let's have a look at our application economy. It consists of multiple software and solutions integrated closely with Dynamics AX. But the heart of our business is around 2012 R3. It is a heavily customized solution that we have. We are using a lot of smart technologies that didn't exist at the time, so we have implemented it ourselves, like predictive analytics, where we figure out what the customer is going to buy from us. All this information for the integrated pieces are just in time. So we have got a lot of AIF customizations and services in our system as well. One of the major pieces is our e-commerce portal. Now, more than 70% of the sales that we're conducting is going through online channels, be it a web application or a mobile application. Some of the features which we have implemented there is real-time product, customers, and available to promise detailed requests directly from AX 2012 whenever you click on the web page for the specific part. We're doing basket recommendations on what to buy. Frequently bought together items for upsell and cross-sell. We also implemented the Olympus payment gateway, so we don't have to deal with handling the credit cards and the secure PI information of our customers. They can create their own wallet in the Olympus payment gateway, do safe 3D secure checkout, and so on. We're also doing multi-tiered price discounts, so whenever a customer signs in, we know where they are from, who they are, and what is the volume that they typically buy, so we can do recommendations, discounts, and prices based on their specific needs. Now, delivery is a big part of our operation, where we are closing all the orders that you can buy for the next day at 9 o'clock in the evening. Then our routing team comes in, and for more than 100 vehicles a day, we are planning at least 20 stops for serving our customers. We're using a software called Roadnet for that, and it factors in everything from speed traps, bridges, what weight can they handle, what is the largest size of the lorry that can enter that region. So it's a very complex planning that has to be done outside of AX. Our ERP software is not prepared to do that, but with the integrations which we have done, it can seamlessly talk back and forth throughout the dropouts. Now these trucks, when they are on the road, we can follow live where they are, project when it is going to arrive at the customer, have a live camera feed whether they are stuck in traffic or they are heading to the right destination. It's called Samsara, which is an IoT-based telemetry. It is also collecting information from the vehicle, so when the driver is revving the engine, they are going above the speed limit, they are doing harsh braking and cornering. It is all collected, and we can have an overview about the performance of the driver. This can overall save fuel for us and be more precise with our deliveries, and we can improve the way the drivers are handling their everyday work. Now, to serve these customers, these drivers have got a delivery application where all of the sales orders relevant for their drop-offs have been downloaded to the mobile application as a local database. They are able to request, collect credits from the customers if they've got outstanding payments. You're also able to edit the quantities that the customer is going to receive. For example, if goods have been damaged throughout the delivery, or maybe a frozen good has been melted, we can minus that down on the order in the delivery application directly. So the final invoice that we produce matches the actual goods delivered, and we don't have to do a credit note for AX because this adjusted quantity is being posted back to the ERP system. It's a very handy way of dealing with these invoices and the invoice errors. We also have developed warehouse management applications, since at the time it didn't exist. It has been brought in with the Illustrator solution that Microsoft has acquired for 2012 R3. So we've got our own solutions for cycle counting, picking, goods in, and dispatching as well. We have got AP invoice automation, where all of our vendors are sending in their PDF invoices in an electronic format. We process these with an OCR engine. We match it against the goods in, so the actual arrived quantities and their price is going to be matched against the invoices in a three-way match. And if everything is fine, the invoice is automatically posted as a purchase invoice. Otherwise, we will raise an exception with the finance team so they can have a look at it. As you know, Master planning and forecasting is a bit clunky within 2009 and 2012, and we have contracted a Finnish company called Relax for this kind of job, and they're really handy with having a look at our historical sales, current stock levels, goods that are coming in at a later point, market trends, whether ice cream is selling better in summertime or wintertime, and they can make smart stock level recommendations from where we can raise our purchase orders in the system in a really fast and efficient way. Now, all of these complex systems have to run on some hardware. We're running it on premises. We've got 2 sites running on a Nutanix virtualization environment in an AJ setup. So this is an active high availability cluster, meaning the main site in our Enfield headquarters and 5 miles away from there in the data center, we are executing the business logic for both sides. The users are either redirected left or right. And we're not wasting by having another set of hardware being idle in some data center. If one of the sites go down, only half of the users have to reconnect, and we are able to sustain our business just perfectly fine with this setup. Now, having a look at our journey of AX implementation, we have started in 2004 with the initial implementation of Acceptor 3.0 at the time. The partner was Ibex within the UK. Then we have done the first major upgrade in 2007 as part of the technical early adoption program with Ibex. Then all of our team members have learned the inside out of the product upgrades and the steps involved. So for 2009, 25 RTM and the latest R3 version, we have done the upgrade ourselves. Now, last year we have begun our journey to moving to the cloud using Dynamics 365 for finance and supply chain management. When I log into the JJ Food Service website with my own account, the system knows where I live, what I typically order, and it can offer me items that is going to be the top hit for what I'm buying, usually. So in this case, various kinds of meat is getting on the top. We are getting some tortilla wraps, margarine, and Coke. If I open one of the product details, this is all coming live just in time from AX 2012, and I can see all the details for this product, like nutrition values, additional allergy advice, where does it come from, what is the typical weight and size for it. And under that, we can see the so-called frequently bought together items. So if somebody is buying a can of Coke, it's very likely that they are going to buy Diet Pepsi or a Coca-Cola product or a Dr. Pepper product with it. This is all coming from machine learning algorithms in the background, and it is getting fed by our sales order transactions history, customer profiles, what kind of restaurants they are, and it is intelligently making these recommendations on its own. If I sign into our AX 2012 R3 environment, open our order pad that we use for capturing sales orders, pull out one of the customers, and I take a new order, I will select counter call action from our Enfield branch. Requisition is IT test. And I go to the sales lines. You can see some of the products are already recommended by the artificial intelligence that we are using, the product recommendations. So for example, if you're serving a restaurant that is a fish and chips shop, they have got to fry their fries in oil, and we know that the restaurant is buying oil every 2 weeks, and they haven't purchased any oil for the last 10 days. We are going to automatically recommend the oil in the top of their list. So the list that we see here are coming in blue, which is the automatic recommendation based on past purchases. So this customer might want to get some whole milk, semi-skimmed milk, yogurt, and hand wash sanitizers. And you can see some other products which are frequently bought together based on what is already recommended in the basket. and some upsell items that are likely to fall in the same category that the customer is in. All we have to do is select the quantities and punch in how many do they want to actually buy from these products. And it's automatically doing the stock check. And if the product is available, then it will go in a green to the bottom of the list. And if something cannot be ordered or there's a limit how much can be bought, then the system is going to notify us. So why should we upgrade, you might ask? I've brought two quotes for you guys. First goes like, digital transformation is the change associated with the application of digital technology in all aspects of human society. The second one is from Charles Darwin, which goes, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change. So why are these relevant for us? We're using a lot of disruptive technologies, and all of these rely on historical data. So this data has a great value for our company. We've got predictive analytics with AI and machine learning. So we are pre-filling our customer sales basket based on previous purchases. The items are personalized. We're doing a lot of upselling for these customers by knowing what type of restaurant they are, which category they fall into, what is their typical purchase, and we can make smart recommendations based on that, like what other products might they be interested in. We got a frequently bought together pattern recognition, knowing if somebody buys a can of Coke, they are likely to buy Diet Coke as well, and we can recommend these to do additional upsell with these kind of products. We have got IoT sensor installed in our delivery vehicles. It can measure the temperature in the three compartments: the ambient temperature, freezer, and chiller. So if the driver forgets to close one of the doors, temperature is going up. In the central, we can see in a Power BI report that something is odd with the temperature, and they can give a call for the driver to make sure to close the freezer so the goods in it doesn't spoil. We can assure great quality for the deliveries for our customers. We're also generating call sheets for our telesales agents, where we know which customers like to be called and have a personal care over the phone instead of using the online sales channels. So it's also an important piece for us. We are setting our item prices based on purchase and sales trends using Power BI reports in our purchasing department. So if the price of, let's say, the potatoes goes up because there was a shortage or a big drought, then we can adjust our prices in a smart manner to cover the market needs and have our profit margins secured. We're also keeping track of our customer churn and business ownership changes. It's a really complicated business. For example, if we're talking about a hotel chain, that might consist of multiple locations. Within each location, there could be a restaurant, a bar cost, room cost. So a lot of sub-customer accounts would be associated with a single hotel chain. And it's a complex structure that we need to keep track of. So how much does it cost to run our system currently in X2012 R3, you might ask? So we've got our IT staff, which consists of the ERP team, infrastructure, networking, help desk, and the database experts. We've got our yearly software maintenance fees for the operating systems, the Office, the ERP system, and all the other software that we are using. We've got hardwares where the vendors are providing only 5 years of warranty. After that, you have to purchase extended warranty or you have to replace your hardware, and that is very costly as well. We're maintaining a disaster recovery site in an active-active setup, like I explained earlier. We've got redundant ISP lines between them with low latencies. So if they cut one of the cables or the internet is not available, it can seamlessly take over the other line, which is also very expensive. So what will it cost to run in Dynamics 365? We are saving on a lot of costs involving infrastructure and hardware and maintenance because Microsoft is taking care of that for us. Also, they are handling the costs associated with our SQL database. It's no longer available for the customers. On top of that, we need now good internet connectivity for the endpoints. If you are only going to connect from a main site, then you might consider running an express route for additional performance. The additional cost which comes in is mostly associated with Azure Premium Storage fee for your database and running data lake and queries and enhanced Power BI licenses. What are the pros of moving to the cloud? First of all, we are going to get an evergreen version because Microsoft is introducing features regularly, almost every 1 or 2 months. There is a reduction in maintenance effort because it is now off our shoulder. Microsoft is doing the security patching and the updates of our environments. Also, upgrading to these frequently released new versions becomes much easier because overlayering, which means changing standard Microsoft code, is no longer possible. We have to follow something called the extensibility model, where we can add code at specific locations before, after, in the middle of the Microsoft standard code in an extensible way, and it doesn't conflict with any other customizations. So the upgrades and installing new ISV solutions is now becoming more of a plug and play kind of story. Scalability is an important question. So now in the shadows of the coronavirus, some of the businesses are booming while other businesses had to scale down their operation. And within the cloud, it is easy to establish. We're also getting better and better support from Microsoft. In the old days, they didn't have field technical engineers available for us for a support ticket to be resolved. And in many cases, it was taking up to 6 months to get an issue closed. So we try to solve everything in-house. But this story has changed. Now Microsoft has a really good structure of escalation engineers, technical engineers, DSEs, fast-track engineers who are all there to support us. Tickets are getting closed 1 week stops, which is great. What are the cons of moving to the cloud? One thing is the license cost predictability and model changes. The last one occurred, I believe, in 2019 December, and we don't know when Microsoft is going to increase the prices, add or remove services from the cost. So this is a big question. Obviously, you can make a contract where you will set the prices in stone, let's say for 5 years, so the changes will not affect you. But in the future, it might turn better or the worse, and we don't know about that. The other thing that we have concerns about is relying on Microsoft for doing the releases to production. Now, since we cannot touch the production system and access it, all of the codes and data packages that we want to put in production has to happen within a set time window. So we can tell Microsoft that, hey, here's 4 hours where you can conduct this upgrade, patch the production system, and when they are finished, they will notify us. In 2012 R3, we can do the upgrade ourselves. If we are really fast within 45 minutes. Unfortunately, that is not the case right now with Microsoft doing the patching for D365. Now let's have a look at planning, effort, and execution of an upgrade. So, what is required to relocate to the cloud? First, we need to assess and identify what software to keep or replace. As you have seen, we are running a lot of solutions on top of Dynamics AX, and some of them can actually be redesigned. So we can use the newly introduced functionality like the warehousing application is an example. And in some cases, we have to change how we integrate the softwares because the underlying technology has been modified. So the first step to do this is to do a raw technical upgrade of the code base, convert overlayering into extensibility, just get rid of the errors so we can start having a look at what functionality can stay and what has to be redesigned. Now, parallel with that, we can start our data upgrade or migration. Once everything has been upgraded and data is migrated, we can begin our functional testing and identify gaps of features and redesign of the configurations that we might have to do in the new application. And we have to clean up the business requirements, build test cases for executing a UAT, and also an important piece is writing automated test scripts. What can you do now, today, to prepare for an upgrade? First of all, we have got the functional upgrade piece. You can try to standardize the customized features if it has been introduced, like utilizing advanced warehousing in 2012 R3. You have to reconfigure your system for that by recreating the warehouses, the items, but it might be required to move to the cloud. You have to utilize new functionality as well. As for the technical piece, if you've got tables and indexes and business logic that you are just not using, it is sitting there, it is not doing anything, you're just compiling it on each and every release unnecessarily and put it in production, get rid of it. Also, if there are deprecated features in the new application, you might want to consider looking for alternate solutions for that. So some of these are the application integration framework, document attachments, running direct SQL requests. You can make sure to have a look at these and find alternate solutions which are much better for the cloud. Now, for helping yourself with data upgrade, you have to purge, and archive. So if you've got data from 15 years ago, which is financial transactions, we don't need all those postings and text transactions. You're legally obliged to maybe keep 5 to 6 years of data. Everything else, you can use IDMF to put it in an archive database, and it will no longer occupy space. Now, in all of the modules, you can also find periodic functionality for cleanup. Have a look at those. It might be worth running some of those and empty whatever you don't need in your database. Then the final step would be preparing database for transferring it to the cloud. You definitely want to do this only in a copy of a production system. So if something breaks, you delete something which you were not intended to, then you can fall back to your own environment. So preparation of the database is a separate step. Now, our transactional DB is currently sitting at 1.7 terabytes. Now, this is with some of the tables already compressed, which were the largest ones. So the actual size for us could be maybe around 2.5 terabytes total, which is quite large. We have done a trial data upgrade. It is possible, but the decision to actually go for it or not depends on many factors, and I'm trying to touch upon those points in this presentation. And finally, we are a 24/7, 365 business. There are no public holidays for us because that's when people usually go to restaurants, so we have to serve the raw ingredients for those businesses. Our window to move to the Azure DB as a go live is very narrow. So that's also something to consider for the execution of the actual go live. Let's have a look at the actual steps to do for the code upgrade. So first we need to install a model store project in our AX 2012 system, which is going to introduce a new checklist. This checklist is exporting all of the model elements from our model DB, that is a separate database in our SQL server, into the main.db. Once we go through this checklist, we have to export and upload the AX model store, which has our code to lifecycle services. There's a tool called Code Upgrade tool, which is going to go through all of our objects, try to automatically upgrade it. And if something cannot be converted into the new version, then it will come as an exception. And all of these is going to be checked into a Visual Studio Azure DevOps repository. After that, we have to clean up the errors, convert everything that is overlaid into extensions, and we have to introduce a new ISV solutions and so on. The data upgrade steps on a high level. Once we are finished with upgrading metadata objects, data types, tables, views, entities, virtual tables, and so on, we have to generate a software deployable package with the error-free metadata objects only. We deploy a virtual machine, put our AX 2012 DB that has been prepared on the top of it, and finally we will run the 2012 data upgrade package that we can download from LCS asset library. So what is expected from the business? First, we have to select the key users who are going to assist us. They have to start data sanitization, get rid of everything that we don't need, start preparing the test cases, At the later point, once the upgrade is done, we have to do the end user training, and then we have to execute the UAT test cycles to be able to sign off the system and get ready for the go live. How long does it take? It really depends on the complexity of the customizations that we have. How many ISV solutions do we have? Does it align well with the data, or maybe it has been redesigned in the new version? So we can only give an estimated figure for you. But the ballpark point is code upgrade is typically 4 to 8 months, depending on the complexity. Cleanup task for the data is at least 2 months. Test case and automation development is another 2 months. And doing the training, UAT, and sign off could be anything between 2 to 4 months. So our estimation is that the project is feasible within about 1 year. But you can definitely go faster or slower depending on how much code you have, how many users have to be trained, how large is your business. So this figure is for a medium-sized enterprise company that we have. Now, off to the second part of my session, upgrade preparations. The process of upgrade involves 3 stages: functional, technical, and data upgrade. But some of these stages can execute in parallel with each other. So the prerequisites for doing the data upgrade, like I said, first you need to install a hotfix. This is KB 403-5163 in my R3 environment. It could be different if you're running a different version. And we have to open the data upgrade checklist, which is preparing the model metadata, maps user accounts, saves your retail sort data, and a couple of other steps, which is a prerequisite to have your database ready for moving to the cloud. Obviously, you should only do this conversion and data preparation in a non-production environment. Then you have to finish code upgrade for the metadata objects, which means data types, tables, views, entities, like I mentioned earlier. I'm going to show it during the code upgrade best practice steps on what you should really do. You have to generate the software deployable package, which is error-free. Prepare the environment which will be running the upgrade. It could be a one-box VM, or better off to go with a local virtualized environment. You have to download the EX25 data upgrade package, applicable for your version. Now, this is only released for the globally available latest platform and application version. You will not be able to find the data upgrade package for a preview version. You deploy your metadata package with your customized code on the virtual machine. For that, you will be using the AX Update installer as you normally do. Then you can get to the point of executing the upgrade. One of the biggest challenges, only one SQL Server collation is supported in Azure, which is Latin 1 General CP1 CIAS. Nothing else is supported. You can refer to the Microsoft documentation about that. Because most of us are in non-English speaking countries, it is a big headache actually, because all of your sorting is going to be off, and you have to convert your own custom collation into the one that is supported. To do this, there are 3 ways. First is an undocumented feature of running the queue option with the SQL Server executable. It seemingly works, but according to forum members and Microsoft, this is not reliable and creates problems for you in the long run. The second option is better, which is the currently supported format outlined in the Microsoft documentation, which is exporting your database into a backpack Azure backup format and then importing it into your target Azure SQL environment. This is working, but obviously it is taking a long time. The third feature could be a SQL Server replication directly into an Azure SQL subscriber. The white paper is currently being built for this, and later on this will be the supported and recommended method, but this is currently experimental for AX. So right now we are only doing test upgrade cycles, so option B works for us. We're taking a backpack export, but to be able to do that, you have to do some preparations. Unfortunately, SQL Server is not one-to-one convertible into Azure, so So you have to do a lot of preparation steps to be able to create a backpack. First of all, your views cannot have computed columns in the database. You have to drop those. You have to remove the so-called filtered indexes as well. You've got some scripts here that you can use, but make sure that you don't ruin your database and delete something which is valuable. Only do it in a test environment. You have to export your views as well, because this cannot be contained in a backpack file, and you have to drop these. Later on you have to recreate it, so make sure you don't lose your created views. You have to get rid of the incompatible stored procedures as well, and here's a list for it. Domain user accounts and schemas are no longer supported. You have to get email format Azure AD accounts instead. So the regular users have to be removed from the database. And there are some additional stored procedures which you can delete. Now, the Dynamics 365 application, once the upgrade is done, is running a batch job in the background, which is making sure all of the indexes are getting compressed. So you can get ahead of the game, and as a preparation step, you can try to speed up the backpack export and the data upgrade steps by having all of the clustered and the non-clustered indexes compressed ahead of the time. You have to also make sure that you run the latest CQL package and the Management Studio versions for compatibility reasons. To do the backpack export, this is the command that you have to execute. So our prepared 2012 R3 DB is getting exported by running it into a backpack file locally. Once that is done, it produces a backpack archive, which is very similar to a zipped file. And you have to export the model XML file from this archive. This model file has to be edited. Like I mentioned, the collation is only supported for Latin 1 General, CP1 CIAS, and its ID is 1033. So first you have to make sure you replace these in the model XML document. Later on, if you start running the data upgrade, you might notice that some other elements within your database schema is also not supported. All you need to do is open the model XML file again and just get rid of the entry in there, and then you can go through the error and continue with the execution of the data upgrade package. So your model XML file is the source for skipping things. First of all, you have to stop the services, your batch jobs, management reporter, and the AOS executable, which is now a World Wide Web service. You have to rename the empty or the demo database AXDB to AXDB orig in CQL. Then you can start importing the backpack file, which contains your entire old AX data. For that, you have to run the CQL package exa with the import command. You have to notice this model file path flag at the end. This is very important because the documentation is suggesting that the model XML has to be re-added to the zip package, but unfortunately that ruins the structure and the CQL package will not be able to recognize it. You can see the warning that I'm also getting. The model file path flag will allow you to have the model XML sit next to the backpack file and just import it using that structure. No need to rezip the entire archive. Once finished, you have to recreate the .cql views, and you will have your AXDB ready for the data upgrade steps. Likely at this point you might want to do additional sanitization and cleanup of your data. That is just to get ahead of the problems you might get during executing the release update cockpit. Now to run the actual upgrade script, it is not really different from installing any other software deployable packages, except it is doing some extra steps for converting the DB. So these are the commands for doing that. The script does a couple of extra steps, including prerequisites for changing the structure of the data, like disabling some indexes which might cause an index violation and these sorts. Then it is using the so-called shadow copy schema copying technique for getting your data from the old format in 2012, recreating the metadata schema in the DB using the new Dynamics 365 format and just bulk copying it from the DBO schema into the shadow copy, getting rid of the DBO schema and renaming the new shadow copy as the DBO that will now consist of your data and the new metadata structure. It is also going to reduce the number of decimal for your real values from 16 digits. It will go down to 6 digits, which is sensible. It will save considerable space in the DB. Then it is doing the postscripts for changing back the indexes, and it will do the release update cockpit execution in an AXAOS batch process. Finally, a data dictionary synchronization is executed to make sure the DB and the metadata are all matching up correctly. Now, what happens if there's an error? Troubleshooting failures at various stages are very well possible. First of all, the runbook execution is generating log files for each step in the software deployable package. Look for the runbook working folder and have a look at those logs first because it is very detailed. And later in the process, when the upgrade cockpit is running, 2 SQL tables are being written. If there's a success or an error step, you can have a look at these directly in SSMS. And in case you have an unresolvable issue during the cockpit execution, the worst case, what you can do is start Visual Studio, hook up the debugger against your AOS executable, and put a breakpoint in the release update execute class's run method. Now, when each of the release upgrade cockpit steps are executed, it will go through this run method, so you can step over or step through to find the real culprit of raising the error message for you. And this is very useful. You can see some of the errors that we have encountered during the execution. So we had problems with our output orders, with the resource setup table, and some of these errors are already documented by Microsoft. You can go to their web page, open up the known issues list, and as I already mentioned, there's a place where you can run these preparation steps before doing the software deployable package data upgrade execution. You have to run these extra steps there to sanitize your DB, so you would not encounter any problems during the real execution of the upgrade. Additional notes. In the screenshot on the right, you can see some of our top largest tables in the database. So for example, text transaction more than 230 GB, document attachments of PDF scans of invoices that we got from the vendors more than 120 gigs, inventory settlements and sales lines again between 80 and 100 GB total. Some of these are not necessary. We have to use IDMF to archive these transactional tables. We have to move the PDF document attachments from the database into a local file storage. We have to compact down our settlements with the periodic functionality. We have to delete all the sales lines that has been invoiced because they are already in the custom invoice trans and custom invoice jar as a copy. We don't need to keep those. So you can see we can do a lot of sanitization of the data. If we don't currently do that, our size is 1.6 terabyte on this screenshot. But if we do the full compression for 2012 already, it has reduced our database size almost by 50%. Now, when we were doing the correlation change using the backpack method, it was 72 hours total on a really fast local VHD with 8 cores and SSD disks for the data and the operating systems. Then the data upgrade execution was another 72 hours. Exporting this backpack on the local VM took 30 hours. And to transfer it to the cloud and import it on a sandbox cloud environment, it was another 30 hours. Now, this is adding up to quite a lot, and our operation currently cannot sustain this long of break to just do the data conversion when we're going live. So this obviously has to be reduced considerably in case we want to move our data to the cloud. Our window is 48 hours to stop everything get the data across, do validations of the functionality and setup, and promote the environment to be production. And this is considerably larger at the moment. So what does Microsoft do for that? Is already working with enterprise customers who want to carry forward large volumes of data, and the solution involved is called Azure SQL replication. This would mean that you take a replication into a folder on your local SQL server. It exports everything, your metadata structure and the data. And then you can have an Azure SQL DB as a subscriber. It will pick up all this data and convert it into an already usable format with the correct collation. This would save a lot of time. We don't have to do the collation conversion ourselves. We don't have to do the backpack export and import. And this will just save days overall. Unfortunately, this has not yet been documented and released. So I'm looking forward for Microsoft to get the white paper out on this one. And this should give us a better position to be in a cutover procedure. Now here's a small demo of best practices for running the code upgrade piece. First, we have to sign on to the Azure DevOps portal on visualstudio.com. And we have created our D365 Finance and Operation Prod repository project. We added the necessary folders, which is trunk main, and the releases folder has been generated by going to Lifecycle Services. Here, there's a selection for code upgrade, and this is our code upgrade that we have done in 2018 October, initially for version 8.1. When we have uploaded our model store to this code upgrade piece, and we have went through the upgrade process, it has produced a couple of reports to assist us with the upgrade. We have chosen the source environment to be 2012 and the destination environment to be 8.1. Now obviously newer versions are available, but at the time we have created the initial model store upgrade on this package version. After that, the environment has created the releases folder with the 8.1 code in it. The metadata consists of all of our upgrade objects that we have to have a look at. And the project was containing everything else that we have checked in with the merged solution by Microsoft that was automatically done, the unparsable solution, and the upgraded solution as well. Now we have started processing this in our virtual machine. Let me open that. So here is our Visual Studio environment with the D365 F4 Prod repository and the 8.1 initial code base. We have got only one layer, which was called JED, in our CAS layer. So we didn't have any complex ISV solutions, modifications on multiple layers, just a single one. But for organizational purposes, we have decided to split it up. Microsoft was doing the same. So initially they had a large spaghetti code on their system and patch layer and the localization, GLS, and other layers as well. And they started splitting it up into foundation, platform, suite, a couple of dozens of other packages for a better organization. We have done the same. So our largest piece of business logic went into the operation package. Everything which is touching low-level system functionality like batch processing, various frameworks went into core. Third-party integrations, where we talk to our mobile applications, to Relax, to Softco, went into the integration package. And the final last one is used for reporting and Power BI purposes. So with these four packages, we can pretty much cover all the coding requirements that we have done. You can obviously go for more complex structures, like if you have got a whole module developed, like for example our call center solution, you might consider putting that into a package. But having too many can cause problems when you have circular reference issues. We immediately branched out this metadata folder. So if I have a look at my branches in the hierarchy, you can see one called 10.04 metadata. So our initial code upgrade that we have done for 8.1, we have branched out to the latest version at that time, 10.04, and we deleted everything which was involving business logic to get rid of the errors. all of the forms, classes, pretty much everything, including table methods, were deleted in this new branch. Only the metadata has been left there. So here we have done the cleanup of the application suite overlaying that we have been doing on the main sys layer, copied into the individual folders of core, operation, integration, and reporting. Once we have done the cleanup here, we were able to produce an application that could compile. This was consisting obviously just the database elements. But once we got an error-free 1004 metadata branch compiled, the software deployable package has been created and it was ready to go for our data upgrade. I recommend doing the same because cleaning up just a small set of these objects only involving the database structure is much faster, and while you're doing your main upgrade for the actual full repository, you can already have data for doing the functional redesigns and getting rid of the errors in your system. So let me get back to my presentation now. Once we had the metadata upgraded, we have uploaded it to our asset library, which we called JED first error-free release. This was ready to go for the data upgrade process. We have added this package to our local VM, cleaned up the data, executed the data upgrade script, and we have been presented with a backpack file that we have uploaded to our sandbox environment. Once it has been installed and deployed, we logged onto the sandbox environment, and now we have been able to see our own data with the metadata structure without any business logic in the system. And we could start working on the actual final code upgrade to get rid of the real error, do the redesigning and everything. You can see it is our own list of company accounts in the application. If I search, for example, for all the suppliers, open it up, and these are all the JJ's upgraded suppliers from the system. So we are good to go for the actual code upgrade piece ahead of time. Now, I would like you to make sure you send any questions and ideas that you would like to hear about in a future video. Make sure you reach out to me in email, on my website, or under the comment section of the video. Make sure you subscribe and take care. Bye-bye.